All right, so now we're gonna place the stencil on. I'm gonna go ahead and start with a slight shave. I know she's not gonna have much hair there, but procedure is procedure. That's what I do. So I'm just gonna shave the area, make sure there's no hairs. Get her nice and clean. Now I'm gonna wipe her down with some hand sanitizer. Clean the skin a little bit, kill anything that's on there. A lot of people just use green soap, and I used to do that, and I don't feel like it, really sanitizes the area as much as it should. So I just use hand sanitizer. I wipe it down, let it dry off, and now we have a clean, sterile area for our stencil. So this is our stencil right here. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it out real quick. I'm going to give it a couple little cuts on the corners, again, just to help it fold around the skin. Skin's not flat, paper is. Alright, so I'm going to shake up my stencil stuff. Put on a nice thin layer. Apply it all over the skin. I don't want to put too much on. I just kind of want to make it so it's kind of sticky. And if it's not, I just keep rubbing it in until it is. My gloves are sticking. That's good. So the stencil's going right there. I'm going to go right down the middle. Make sure I get a nice even stencil, nice and smooth from the middle. And I'm just going to come through and hit my sides. Bam. Just like that. See how the paper is starting to kind of get a little, wrinkled here and there? Those cuts in the paper really help. You can see all to the edge right here. It's kind of wrinkled, but our stencil isn't. And that's because of the cuts that we put in there. So now I'm just going to wet this paper up a little bit and kind of give it a thin little wipe down with it. Anything that wasn't touching the skin before is now. I'm not soaking it, I'm just giving it a quick pass with the wet paper towel. Alright, that should be good. Let's pull it back so I don't rip it in case it wasn't the right area or the right direction. And there's our stencil. Nice and legible, clear, I know exactly where my darks are. I know exactly where my lights are going. Really easy to read, and I think it's really helpful as far as tattooing goes, to be able to concentrate on tattooing instead of concentrating on what this is or what this is. It's there. So we're going to let that dry for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to get started. Okay, now that we got the stencil and drew on a little bit of underground leafage, we can go ahead and get started. So I'm coming through right here with some blue concentrate, and I'm just going to start magging in these leaves. I definitely don't want to run any lines down here because I want to keep the focus on the flower. So we're just going to be magging in our shapes, keeping it nice and kind of blurry, still focused, but not too much. That way, it gives it the depth that it's, kind of like a photograph. You want the flower to be really focused, and you want the background kind of be unfocused and, nice and dark. So we're just coming through with our 15 mag right now, and we're just going to start brushing in some blue concentrate. Still coming through with the blue concentrate. Definitely don't want to get in here with too much black. I want this piece, it's going on a woman, so I definitely not trying to go too dark with the blacks. I want to, I'd rather use some dark concentrates and keep it nice and colorful and vibrant. If I was doing it on a guy, I would definitely come in with more black to keep the piece looking more masculine. But it really all depends on what image and what kind of look you're trying to go with. Just trying to mag in those shapes right now, getting that background cast shadow. Now we're rinsing off our dark blue. We're coming in with our medium blue. As I'm doing these colors, I'm coming through and I'm fully saturating the piece, making sure it's solid all the way through. And then at the very edge, I'm just kind of loosening up about 30%. And as I'm coming in with the next color, I'm getting right over that 30% and fully saturating. That way you get that smooth blend. You're not going to see any dots or any holidays throughout the piece. You're just going to see, like, as for instance, here we're going with the dark blue, fading it off into a medium blue, and then as I'm fading that one off, I'm coming through with a sky blue, and I'm just brushing that right over that 30% and making it a nice smooth, transition from dark to light. And this is the way that I do color. I fully saturate my pieces and I layer everything. So there's our background tones for that part behind the leaf, and now we're going to come through and start magging in the other side. I'm using a lot of the corner of the mag, just getting in there, kind of like magging in my shapes, almost like a liner would. But like I said, I don't want too much, emphasis on the background of this flower. These leaves that I just drew on, they're just more of a, just an image behind it, so the piece isn't so flat. Still using the 15 mag here. Just getting in those tiny little areas, using the two on the corner right there. Just turn it on its side. Running my machine at a nice medium pace, around 6 volts right now. I could run it all the way down to a 5 or all the way up to a 7. So I'm just about halfway through right now. As for my inks, you notice sometimes I just dip right into the cap, and other times I'm dipping into the cap and into the rinse cup right after. It really all depends on what type of ink you're using. I use a wide variety of different tattoo inks from different companies, and I've just found that one company doesn't have all the exact tones or consistency I like. I use 2 from some companies, 3 from others, and and just from there. So, it only really depends on what type of ink that you're using and what, how you like it. Sometimes I go straight from the ink cap to the skin, and sometimes I go straight from the ink cap into some water and then, or witch hazel, and then right into the skin after that. So I'm just brushing in those dark blues right here, just, trying to get some nice undershadow. So, the flower and leaf doesn't just look blank. I'm just blending that off. And of course, I'm gonna blend those off into a lighter tones, and which is the reason why we're not running any lines down here. It's just gonna fade off into nothing. Rinsing off my blue again, coming into it with the next tone, the medium blue. I'm just getting right over that 30% where I just got loose, and fully saturating the piece with that tone now. See how smooth we're getting that transition from that dark to that mid, and then from there I'll just loosen up and get into that light blue and work our way off. Definitely can see the shape of the leaves and the stem already just from maggot in the background, and that's what we're going for right here. All right, so I think I'm gonna do a little bit of flow right here. I'm constantly talking about flow. I like to keep my pieces moving. I don't, of course, I can't talk everybody into letting me do my thing with it, but I'm of course today I can. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some little direction to this instead of just fading off by some leaves. There's really nothing like really intricate about it. I'm just trying to keep the flow that I've drew on with the pen. I got the direction, how it goes up top around the head and stuff like that. So I'm just coming through with that mid blue and just magging in a little bit of like direction lines coming through, and I'll just get over those with that light blue and really blend them off into the skin. I think it'll look a lot better. You can see the smooth transition from the darks to the mediums to the lights already on the under part of the leaves. It's looking really nice and no dots at all. You can definitely see the leaves in the stem just by shading in all the background areas already. And this is what I was talking about when I'm getting over that 30%. I went through with that medium blue, and some of the parts of the piece are already saturated, and just at the edge where I'm going to introduce the next color, I'm just barely brushing over it. If it was a gray wash, it'd be like a nice mid-tone coming off, and then you just get right back over that with the next color, and it really works well. So here we're coming through with some of that light blue into that icy blue that I have, and just introducing a little lighter of a tone just for the edge. Trying to get some of that flow going from the bottom, blending it off into nothing. Some of the lighter valued colors like these, and yellows and seafoam greens and things like that. They don't get in right on the first pass, but a lot of times you won't see the piece because of the blood that comes off, and so I don't suggest overworking the skin in a certain area. I'd say 2 or 3 passes, and then give it 5 or 10 minutes. And I say that in a lot of my tattooing. Don't think that you need to see immediate results, because a lot of times you don't. A lot of times you need to get in there and know that you put the ink in, and then move on to the next area and give it 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, if 5 or 10 minutes really isn't going to hurt your client as far as pain goes, to get back in it. You give it an hour or two and you get back in there, yeah, it's going to be really sore, but 5 or 10 minutes, you look, if it has a little holiday or something, it needs one more pass or something, you get back in there. But it's always better to give it a minute and let the skin kind of relax from what it's going through and show what's been put in, than to overwork the area and have scarring. And because if you scar the piece of it, it definitely isn't, you're not going to see any of the ink. It's going to be white and it's going to look like ass. So I'm coming through right here with some solid blacks just to get some really deep shadows coming off the stem and the leaves. Normally I come through with my darkest tones first, like my blacks or my concentrates. If I had a lighter valued color, like a really light, a green or a yellow, then I'd be really careful wiping it down because I could definitely mud up my inks. Mudding up meaning, coming through with a deeper valued color and wiping over it. But I'm just being really careful not to wipe the black into too much of the blue. That way we don't, mud up that ink. I'm using a lot of A&D, which kind of holds it into its area. I'm just building up a really, really dark shadow. Like I said, I want the background to be nice and dark. I'm starting to see a little bit of shadowing and things like that. So coming through with the green concentrate right now, keeping it really, nice and saturated, coming through with about that 30% of that black that I loosened up and getting right back over that with that dark green. I'm just magging in that line right there. Just, like I said, just kind of turning my mag on the side and building up where the center of that leaf will flow with, and just coming through with that concentrate. Also, same green. Just working in my darks right here, getting ready to introduce my lighter tones after. Go ahead and give it a nice wipe down so we can see what we're doing right now. And already we're starting to look really nice. Get some really nice undershadows. Coming through with the 9 now. Still building up that green concentrate right there. Keep in mind, as you're doing colors, I definitely recommend coming through with your darker, higher valued colors first, and then at the end bringing in your lighter valued, brighter colors. As you're doing that, and until you introduce those warmer colors or those brighter colors, it's always going to look really, really dark. I'm coming through right here, but there's a little bit more black just to give it a little more shadow on that leaf. And it's the same thing as in any other tattoo. You're just building your layers. You got to start with your darks, and you got to keep working your way from darkest to lightest. So until we introduce those other colors, it's gonna look nice and dark, which is what we want. But notice how I kept those areas clean where we're gonna introduce those lighter colors, and once you do that, it'll really lighten up the piece right there. And coming through with a lime green right over that green concentrate right now, getting over that 30% that we left open. Really gonna brighten it up now. As you can see, there it is right there. Still using the 9 mag because it's a smaller area. And already, just off that first pass right there, the leaves already. You can start to see a lot more brighter colors. Still not too bright because of all the concentrate and the black that we put in, but just enough that you're definitely seeing a little bit of light source hitting the leaf and that part of the stem, and that's what we're going for. Making sure to wash and wipe my tube and my needle down every time I do change colors. And now we're coming through with an avocado green. It's a nice like greenish yellow tone. It's kind of muted, not too bright, and just I don't want to bring I don't want to slam too much really bright, vibrant colors in the bottom because it is, like I said, it's the bottom of the piece, and it's in the background of the flower. Don't want it to be too drawn to by the eye. Definitely able to see the leaves and the stem a lot better now that we introduced a little bit of those warmer colors in. I'm just coming through with some more of that green concentrate right here, just to give it a little more shadowing under that one petal of the leaf or of the flower. Making sure to rinse my needle and my tube off really nice, drying it off and coming through it with the lime green now. Yeah, this is another one of those tones I was telling you. It doesn't really get in on the first pass. It's harder to get in the skin, but a lot of times it doesn't look like it's in when it really is. So we're just gonna brush it in. Don't want to like really force it in, so we're gonna get it in there, get it back over there with the avocado green, and look at it in 5 minutes, see if it needs another pass or if it is really all there. Because with the blood coming out, it really turns green. These lighter values, it's hard to see them. Now I'm layering in that avocado green right over that 30% and give it a nice wipe and see what it looks like. All right, so I'm pretty happy with the way it looks. I think that it does need a little bit of line work just on the bottom, just to emphasize a little bit more of the shadowing, how the light's coming from the left to the right. So I'm gonna come through with a 5 liner right now with some straight black, and I'm just gonna run a little bit of lines here and there, just mostly just to capture a little bit of more focus on the bottom, just to give it, because even though we magged in that black, if you run a line right over it, it's definitely gonna bring in a nice darker black, and just to build the shadowing and help with the light source coming from the left. That's what we're gonna do. So just following through with that 5 liner, the little areas that I think need just a little bit of more under shadow. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. I'm happy with it. I'm gonna start building up the rest of the dark blue behind the orchid up on the top right side, and then we can start getting busy on the flower itself. So I'm back in with the 9 mag with the blue concentrate, just kind of helping with that shadow under the flower. Don't want to go off too much, but I definitely think that if I would have just came through and shaded in my stem and my leaves without putting some kind of background tone behind it, I don't think it would have given the piece the justice that it gets now, with just a little bit of blue fading off into nothing. Turning my mag this way and that way so I can get the different angles. I hear a lot of people say they don't like to use mags, because they can't get into tight little areas, this and that. But you can see right here, I'm able to turn my tube this way or that way, and I'm able to get in every little crevice or every little tight spot that we can. I mean, it helps that I'm using a 9 and not a 25 also, but I'm able to get in there. Coming through with my mid-tone blue now, just getting right back where we're at. And notice I got into my blue, and I started getting on the skin. It wasn't really getting enough exposure around the skin, so I dip back into my rinse cup and kind of loosen up the ink so I can move around a little bit. Moving my hand kind of fast right here, just trying to build a little bit of that flow also on one side, and blend it off on the edge about 30% so I can introduce that lighter tone right off the edge. Getting back in there with that sky blue. I want to keep this part kind of light because it is the edge under the flower and it just kind of trails off. There it is. There, I think our background image is looking really nice. Our under shadows with our leaves and stem are looking pretty good. I'm just gonna add a little bit of really light blue right here just to add a little bit to this piece with some more direction, some more flow going through it. And then when we're done, I think we'll get up on that flower and start talking how we're gonna introduce warms and cools into the same piece. I think it's gonna be really amazing when we're done. So I'm just coming through with the 15 still, just kind of build up a little bit of flow with that ice blue right here. I don't want to make it too like bold or bright, so I'm just gonna brush it in, kind of dilute it down with some water, and it's just the end of the piece right here. So we definitely don't want it to